that, what we achieved in this campaign is so much more than even what this election is about. We stood on principle, and we started with the idea that government is about integrity, that unless you have integrity in government, that there is no true government, that if you are to have representative government by elected officials for the people, then you have to act in the best interest of the people. And if you look at all the position papers that we came up with, and which translated into the message of our campaign, it really came down to that basic character trait of integrity. And that's something that we brought, to this race, because wherever any of us were, whether we were on the streets, whether we were, at a debate, we were always about integrity, about doing the right thing, about making sure that when decisions were made, that they benefited the people who were supposed to benefit by that decision. And we carried that out throughout the campaign, and that's something that we can all take with us, and we can hold our heads up high, because it's really who we are, and it's something that no one can take away from us. So that's something that each of us takes away from this campaign. And all of you inspired me. As the leader, you're supposed to inspire people, but in reality it was just the opposite, because I was inspired by your integrity and your accountability and the way in which you conducted yourselves. And that's something that I hope all of you feel today. So thank you for that. And the second thing I want to mention is that the ideas that we talked about in this campaign found their way into the ideas of other campaigns. Our idea, for example, of a $40 million microloan program. Now, one of the other leading candidates is talking about a $5 million microloan program. Not quite what we would have done, but it's a start, and that's the point. It's a start. People were asking me, well, how do you feel about, pension reform and the fact that Proposition D didn't pass? I'm obviously disappointed, but I'm not surprised. We were outspent 5-1. We spent less than $200,000 on our campaign, and the opponent spent over $1 million, trying to make the case that we were members of the Tea Party.
But you're not Scott Walker.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Sarah Palin, right? But again, we stayed on the merits, and I want to thank Craig, Shirley Hansen, Chris Keene, so many of you.
Robin.
Oh, Robin, yeah, who's here. My partners in pension reform, and the truth of the matter, and I hope all of you feel that this way, is that we would have no Prop C if we didn't have Prop D. Prop D was the thing that drove the outcome. I'm proud, that we brought a measure last year and this year that made pension reform possible. It's not the pension reform I would have liked to see, but it's something that we can start with. And of course, the fact that Prop C passed, not Prop D, means that we're going to face $400 million in pension costs that we would not have otherwise faced. And that pains me, because that means we're going to see more cuts. The fact that our pension costs in our city are going to increase this year from $473 million to $829 million, is insane. It's just insane. And our position ultimately will be vindicated. Will be vindicated. Because when those bills start coming in, people are going to start saying, you know what, they were right. This is something that we should have fixed. That it wasn't unfair to have higher paid employees paying less. People ask me, well, how do you feel about Prop C passing and not Prop D? Well, I'm going to have to pay 3.5% less into my pension, right? But again, the reality is that this is a problem that is not going to go away. So, that is something that we made happen. That is something that we can